Hello, everyone. Welcome to Nerds of Legend. My name is Brian Ballard, and today we're going to be talking about Batman. So I want to introduce my friends. First, we have Ben. Say
I'm
hello, Ben.
Batman.
Very good. Joel.
Oh, I also am Batman.
Of course, I'm Brian. I'm Batman.
Gotta do the old version for myself. Brian, my old chum. I'm Batman. He never said it. There was absolutely no grit in the Adam West one. Like,
Actually,
at
no,
all.
he did. He did say, "I am Batman."
Yeah, but he said it like he was pondering after, like he was having a pondersome moment after over like his morning tea. He's like, "Well, chum."
You're also forgetting a bit about the amazing episode where he is both Bruce Wayne and Batman on the phone talking to Commissioner Gordon.
Or the episode where someone comes up to him and gives him like a little bit of mail as Batman, and it's like a thing from the Riddler, and they're like, "Are you Batman?" And he's like, "Yes, I am Batman."
Yeah, hold on one second. You guys can continue.
Okay, Batman.
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 No, 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 no.
Tell me, Ben, what do you know about?
About flying?
All right, never mind. You apparently do not know the Michael Keaton Batman very
I
good.
did
so
not know that one is a little bit outside of my
Son of a bitch.
age group.
Age group. God.
Yeah. Sorry, I had a child asking to extend his time outside. So.
How dare he?
Yeah, I know. What a jerk.
I'm crushed. I'm hurt. I'm wounded, even, Ben. Wounded. You hear me? Wounded.
What is that?
Because
I came back to apparently Christopher Walken as Batman. Is that what happened?
I'm wounded even.
Bruce Wayne, why are you dressed as Batman?
Why are you dressed as Batman? Yeah.
Side note: did you hear that Christopher Walken is going to be Emperor Emperor Leto the Fourth in the next Dune movie?
Oh, okay. I didn't know you were going to that for a second there. He's like,
You mean the actual Emperor,
Yes.
Leto the Second?
Yeah.
Leto the Second, the one that becomes the worm.
No. Sorry, Shaddam. The Emperor Shaddam.
I was
Yeah.
like, that's Leto the Second.
Sorry,
Like you're Spanish Emperor Shaddam
wrong.
the Fourth.
Yeah, he's.
We're not on Dune right now.
I
dork.
know, but I heard about it, and I was like, this is the time to talk about it. But we'll wait until we talk about Doom.
I could just imagine him standing there with Sting, be like, "You may meet him with my blade if you wish it."
Your father.
He was a good man, but I can't do very well with Christopher Walken. I'm
You
sorry.
know,
all of my accents that I can do, that is not one of them. Which now that I say it out loud, I feel like I should. Go ahead.
I've got a fever, and the only prescription is more cowbell.
It's more cowbell. Yeah. Fucking.
Sorry,
I can't
tangent.
imagine.
Let's talk
I
about
can't
Batman.
imagine him as the right. We're supposed to be talking
Sorry.
about Batman. You're talking about dumb shit. Like,
well,
dude,
I mean, Christopher Walken was in Batman, but I mean, like, let's move forward from that.
what was he? What was he in Batman?
He was Max Schreck from the second movie, Batman Returns.
Oh
He
my
was
God,
the
yeah.
guy who
Yep.
pushes Selena Kyle out the window. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shit.
He has been such like we were talking about this the other day about how Tim Curry has like grabbed onto like the villain, but not like evil villain, but like the mustache twisting, like bad-ish guy. Christopher Walken, I feel like, has done the same thing.
Mhm.
Like,
Well, I don't remember any James Bond movie in which Tim Curry is a villain, but there is one where Christopher Walken is the villain.
but he's still like not. I don't know. He's a little on the campier side, but like,
course he
because
is.
like you love him as a bad guy. Like when he's a bad guy, you're like, yeah. Unlike like some of the really reprehensible characters.
To be real, his
you know?
best role was when he played a cross-dressing detective on FBI detective that had a penchant for opera. Have you guys
What?
not seen? Have you not seen Boondock Saints?
That's not Christopher Walken.
That is.
That's Willem Dafoe.
Oh shit! I confused him in
Whoop.
my brain. This is not my day.
Great stream, you guys. We have one of our constituents has just proved themselves to be incompetent. Goodbye.
So we're coming up on 5 o'clock here. Why don't we just reset and come on back to Batman? I think there's been enough fail in this episode. We can restart the episode now.
Yeah, Ben, you are not allowed to talk. You
Hi.
must read Batman now.
I'm Ben, and I'm Batman.
No, you have been downgraded to Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Oh.
Keep it going. You're going to be Robin, and not
I know.
cool Robin.
Ooh.
We're talking Burt Ward Robin. Like the
God.
kind. Yeah.
We're talking Stephanie Brown. That's right. You're going to be removed from continuity. How about that?
No. Please, I'll do better.
No.
Actually, I think Stephanie Brown's back in continuity now, isn't she?
I have no idea.
I think she's currently spoiler in the comics. Like she's back to being that again,
Yeah.
as opposed to her awesome Batgirl run. Anyways,
We can go for days on
I'm not
fun.
the comics expert, so.
I remember something about like her coming back into continuity. I'm a little bit behind as far as my comics are concerned, but I'm almost certain that because Barbara Gordon is still filling the Batgirl role at the moment in the DCU, that I'm pretty sure Stephanie Brown is back to her identity as Spoiler, which is the daughter of Clue Master. Although I don't know if that's still canon.
No, I have no idea.
Yeah,
I
comic books.
am
Continue.
more like a general Batman fan, you know, like as opposed to getting into the deep dive of Batman. Like I can hang to a point, and then I'm like, you lost me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, let me ask you guys this real fast here, because this is something that did happen in the comic books. I think sometime last year or so, and it got a lot of hype. And this is the only real comic book question I guess I'll kind of like dig in on, because I kind of want your guys' opinion. How do you guys feel about the marriage of Bruce Wayne and Selena Kyle? It didn't actually happen. They're not actually married because, of course, not.
I was like, I kind of feel that's like inevitable, but like as far as it goes, I don't really see. Go ahead.
That's always kind of been like a will they won't they shipping scenario. I mean, it's kind of like always been teased and then it never happens because in the end she's a villain kind of, but not. But yes.
Oh no. This last time they were 100% committed to it up until the point where she gave some really terrible fucking excuse, and then they were just like, okay, I guess we're done with that. Because basically what she's sorry,
they decided to end that storyline.
I don't know if they're necessarily not gonna do the storyline. I kind of wish that they just would, because in all honesty, like the reason that she gave for like not actually marrying him was bullshit. Because basically what she said was, you're Batman, and therefore like Batman, he has to be alone. He can't be worried about someone to come home to every night, like something like that.
That's stupid.
It's so dumb. He's got like the whole Bat family. He's got like kids.
Yeah, right?
He's got like
Like-
other. Oh my god, it's so dumb. It was so
She just doesn't
dumb.
want to hang up the cat ears and put on bat ears. Come on, that's what it is. She doesn't want to be Batwoman or whatever.
Yeah, it was. As far as it goes, I don't know what I think or if I care about comic book relationships. You know, like if Batman and Selena Kyle got together, I don't really know if that would like negate Batman for me. Like I'd be like, oh, he's not a bachelor anymore. Fuck it. Like I don't think it would bother me. I mean, didn't he have like a thing for Thalia Al Ghul for like the longest time, and then just
Well,
out
they
of
had a
no-
kid together, yeah.
Right. And so like he just kind of like tossed that out the window, and they're like, but did you see how racky Selena Kyle is now? And you're like, yeah, it's pretty great.
I mean,
They
Batman has had a shit ton of relationships over the
Right.
years.
Like, I don't know why it matters. And he's been dancing around with Catwoman since what, the 80s, the 70s? I don't remember. She'll show up, and I'm pretty sure Eartha Kitt was all over.
Adam
Why
West.
can't I? Yeah, Adam West. I don't know why all of a sudden that just. I could remember Burt Ward, but not Adam West. Like I guess we're all done today. Ben is catching is contagious to all of us now.
It's because none of us work today, so we're not tired enough to actually remember shit.
More tired than when I work, because I would have been waking up like 40 minutes ago if I worked today. But I don't know. I don't think that's pertinent to the story, because like his relationship with her had been running so long, and he's still doing what he's doing. It's not like he's like letting cat burglars slide because he's sleeping with one of them. Like he's still punching everybody in their face.
Yeah.
I
don't know.
I don't think it would.
No, I don't think.
Personally, I don't think it would change the characters all that much. I don't think it would have a whole effect on it, really.
Yeah, no, not at all. I don't think.
Yeah, like I'm more honestly upset with the whole like nonchalant, like, oh hey, I'm going to marry you. We're actually doing this. We're actually doing this. We're actually doing. You know what? Batman needs to be alone. I'm like, the fuck? What the?
And Bruce just accepted that.
I mean,
yeah,
it's like the beginning of Lego Batman.
No
where he's
parents.
That was the best.
I do like how we're kind of back to emo Batman with the latest movie. I feel like that's when he does his best work, is when he's emo Batman.
Really?
I don't know. Maybe. No distractions.
See, I don't know. I like the like.
You like campy Batman, so.
No, I don't like campy Batman. I was raised with campy Batman, but I never once said that's my go-to Batman.
That's fair.
The Batman I've always liked was the Batman from the animated series. He's very serious. He's very gritty. He does what needs to be done, and like that's it. Like he doesn't. That I have always liked, and then like we got a little bit of that with the Batman in the Dark Knight, and then the Batman that built the Justice League, with I also like the Justice League Batman, which I think is the same as the Batman. He's the planner that is like protect the world at all costs, even if it costs him his friendships or his family or his own like well-being. He doesn't care. Like that guy, justice above all. That Batman was my favorite. I don't care.
I think. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say I don't care for the new tropey Batmans of like where he's like just saying the name Martha causes him to like unravel. Like, when they're sitting there at with Batman versus Superman. I know everybody says it sucks, but I mean, I don't know what you expected out of it. It was.
Yeah. We all knew what we were getting.
Like, it's Batman versus Superman. I don't know what you expected. They're like, that's not how it's supposed to be. Who cares? Shut up. You want to see, a various superpowered activity and a hyper-intelligent detective do stuff. You got that, so stop crying. But the part where, like, Superman says Martha's name and then Batman, like, falls apart, like, you're telling me this guy who has sharpened his mind to be, like
he's like
razor sharp. And, like,
he's basically like the embodiment of will. Like.
Well, you saw the part where he took the Green Lantern's ring and became like the greatest Green Lantern in history.
Yeah.
But yet you say Thomas or Martha, totally unravels him. Like Thomas is a really common name. Like the chances of him running across that.
You're telling me he can't watch a train cartoon?
Right. Thomas the Train just like completely ruins him. Like, come on. Like, I think
here's train whistles and he goes into PTSD mode.
I just feel that they're leaning too far back into like the faux
traumatized Batman
drama of it, and it's like I don't know. To me, I just feel like you can't spend all this time like honing yourself as this brilliant mind and detective and all this other stuff, and then they're like, Martha, Puddle, you're completely ruined, and like you can't focus. I mean, like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And I think them leaning into that.
Especially
oil.
because I assume I didn't see the Batman versus Superman movies, but I assume he's supposed to be like he's not like new Batman. He's like seasoned Batman. So he's been on the game for like a long time.
Yeah.
Like he's not new kids on the like. So like some of like the Batman movie, like it makes sense. He's still dealing with shit. He's still, unhinged a little bit. So like it makes sense when he has these like freak out moments or whatever, because he's still like, and I think that's why I really liked the new movie, was because you see that transition of him being, like you see him go from the vengeance to justice or whatever. You see him like basically stop being like, I am vengeance, and then he basically goes to like he becomes the Justice Batman as opposed to the the Fist of Vengeance or whatever. Especially when the dude on the catwalk was like I am vengeance. You're like, oh fuck, I fucked up.
So okay, Joel, you said your favorite Batman has to be probably along the lines of like the DC animated series, whether that's the Batman the animated series or whether that's like the continuation into like Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. And you also
the more like focused, seasoned Batman,
right.
So
not like say for example like as seasoned as like say or rather not as quite as gritty as like he sometimes can get, but like more the serious minded, but at the same time I guess you could say like very open Batman.
Yeah, he's not.
I don't know what the open Batman means, but
like for example, if your Batman can do the following two things within a single movie or episode, where he can intimidate the shit out of a thug and then like turn around and comfort a child, that's the kind of Batman you like.
I like the one that is there to be like the symbol, but he's
the symbol of fear and fear
from
and
safety at the same time.
Fear and hope.
Well, because that's when I was a kid, we didn't have Batman like new on the job Batman. Like when I was a kid, I had the 60s. I had the Adam West Batman, who nobody knows how long he was doing it. He's just there and has been doing it with his like young ward, who's like obviously like 38. Like, but he's been doing it so long that the commissioner and doesn't even leave the office. Like, the police chief and the commissioner just hang out in the office all day.
Doesn't even strap on a gun anymore. Like,
no, he doesn't even try. Like, they're just waiting, and they're like, oh, what is it, 2:55 in the afternoon? Ah, gotta call Batman. We got a giant cake in the
and for cocktails.
Yeah, they just call Batman, and like Batman's on the job constantly to the point the only criminals that come out are like the weirdest, most mentally unstable ones.
Yeah, it's so strange how it's kind of like.
Go ahead.
I feel like Adam West Batman time, current Batman, you have like Gotham is a cesspit of corruption and like villainy, and it's like you can't walk 30 seconds to the near convenience store without getting mugged, versus like I feel like Adam West Batman was like Batman took care of all the street level shit, and the only thing left was the supervillains. It sort of seems like
it was a change. That time was to bring Batman to a younger audience.
Yeah.
And that's literally their only goal, was to bring Batman to a younger audience. And it worked. Like, I loved it. Like, the fact that you could punch people so hard, like pow and whammo would appear in the air. That was awesome. And in Lego Batman, where he's like, we're going to punch people so hard, sounds of impact are going to spontaneously appear in the air. That was the best scene ever, where they're hitting it's like blowy and Legos. It was so
Kablam.
great. But
Kapow.
that wasn't like, but we never had a new on the job Batman. Like as far as I can remember, we never had a new on the job Batman. Like and then we got Batman, the 1989, and that one he was on the job for a long period of time. Like it doesn't show when he started. He was just there in his like rubber suit, punching the shit out of people. And apparently he had enough time to create this like plethora of bat-shaped shit. So like that's not something you forge overnight, you know. Like he's not like just sitting there and he buys a CNC machine and cranks out 700,000 batarangs. No, this shit's been on. There is a supply chain in place for his crime fighting, you know.
Although his crime fighting seemed fairly recent in 1989 Batman, because like he's grabbing fucking dudes in alleyways and like hanging them over like ledges, and he's all like, "I want you to tell all your friends about me." You know what I'm saying? Like fucking like it wasn't so much where they didn't have the bat signal yet. They didn't have any like infrastructure. It's just like there's rumors of a guy dressed like a giant bat who's going around and beating the shit out of people.
Yeah, it was almost like Batman Year 2. Like it was like he's been around, so there's some people that have encountered him, but he's also like there's still like thugs that are like, I can get away with whatever the fuck I want, and then
I need to step away for a second.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I'll be right back.
Okay, so Ben, if you can, I want you to try to, because like Joel already gave like where his Batman range is, like where his favorite Batman kind of is. Do you have like a particular Batman or a couple Batmans that you can think to yourself are like your key not where you started with Batman, but like what is Batman to you? Like where in that range is your perfect Batman?
So I wouldn't say so. Like my biggest, like probably first exposure to Batman was probably like Clooney. Like you've got where it's just like that suit, like everyone's throwing out puns left and right. It's just like pure chaos.
We have a neighborhood that, like in Naperville, they're starting a petition to see if we want to include mental health services in as in something covered by the city. And so there's a petition going around.
Oh,
so that's they're like, do you want to sign? I was like, yeah, absolutely, let's do this. So
all right, so
also here's my card. No,
right?
Yeah.
I'll be using all of those.
Yeah, so I would say that that's kind of like where I saw the most of Batman was probably, at least if you're talking about like movies, the others.
I'm not talking about like where you started with Batman, like.
But I feel like where you start with Batman is also kind of like where you kind of like stick with Batman. You know what I mean? You're like, but you know, I don't have the whole breadth of having, you know, like I'm not like I don't have the same experience with Batman that Joel has had. Like by the time I was watching like Batman cartoons, like I was watching Super Friends and Justice League on Boomerang, you know, like it was like reruns. I would say up until the most recent movie, I would say my favorite sort of Batman series or like sort of Batman experience was The Dark Knight, sort of with the name escapes me. What's his name?
Christian Bale?
Yeah, Christian Bale. So that was probably like the most I was influenced by Batman, which is why I think I resonate more with the most recent movie, was because I feel like the most recent Batman movie is probably more a fulfillment of what The Dark Knight was trying to do with the Batman character. Like I said, I think that I keep wanting to call him Edward Cullen, but that's the wrong name. I would say like
remember him.
Robert
Like, I'm
Pattinson?
so sick.
Yeah, Robert Pattinson.
Yeah, Robert
Thank you. Thank you for not yelling at me for not remembering the name off the top of my head this time. I'd say like Robert Pattinson, I feel like was sort of like Christian Bale's Batman, but like I feel like Christian Bale was a really good Bruce Wayne, but then when it came to some of the Batman stuff, it kind of like fell flat for me, whereas I feel like Robert Pattinson really did like kind of fulfilled both roles as like a young Batman. So like where he's he's still dealing with this like trauma of like all this stuff. Like he's it's like cuz I feel like I mean, like I said, I'm not super familiar with the comics, but I feel like
Okay, let me rephrase this because
yeah.
you're kind of like just going on.
Yeah.
30 seconds. Joel, I want you to give me your least favorite Batman, and I want you to give me your most favorite Batman.
A weird one because, like,
I don't know
my
if I have
least
a
favorite is actually the one that I cut my teeth on.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care much for the Adam West. Do I have a special place in my heart for it? Absolutely. But my most favorite, probably I would have to go with The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight portrayal with Christian Bale. He was a very seasoned one. He had come up with the he balanced Bruce Wayne with Batman better than anyone, than any of the other ones that I've seen. He didn't do like the silly Bruce Wayne, like in the 1989 where he's like, "Oh, I've never been in this room in my house. We've got a table that seats 100 people." Like none like that. Like he balanced himself to more of a believable character. And I did like the seasoned part. Like he had his forensics down. It was the most believable portrayal. But then on the other hand, he was like my Batman, the Batman I believe that I don't identify because I have none of the skills. But the Batman that I like the most is the one that like as it was in the Batman the Animated Series and the Justice League and the Dark Knight, justice above all. He would burn all of his relationships down if he knew they were crooked. Like if he found out that Alfred was the head of a like drug ring, he would grab Alfred and take him to jail. Justice above all. He was a seasoned doer of good, and he didn't care what anybody thought. He did it because it was the right thing to do, and I think that is the Batman I think of as when I think of my favorite portrayal of Batman.
Cool. Ben, 30 seconds. Least favorite Batman, most favorite Batman.
I feel so like I said, my first Batman was George Clooney. I have a special place for it because it's just so punny and hilarious that it's just like, but it's not like a true Batman. I honestly think my current most favorite Batman is Robert Pattinson. I think that it just what was that, Joel?
I'm admitting he did a good job. I didn't want him to do a good job. I wanted him to suck, but like
and then he like nailed it.
Yeah, he did good.
Yeah, I think my current favorite Batman would be Robert Pattinson. That's what I think of with the Batman, because you want like he's obvious to me. I know we argued about this before, but I think we're back to like inventor Batman that like comes up with things to combat whatever. It's not like obviously he's got like the funding of a like super expensive inheritance to like fund these things, but it's not like he goes to his like Agent M and like says, I've got a hobby of base jumping recently. What do you have that does that and doesn't come in black? Like like I think that was what bothered me the most about Christian Bale. I was like, so Batman's supposed to be this super genius that like does, yeah, but it's like
Blue Fox knew exactly
right
what he was doing.
Right, but like any other Batman would have just built the shit with his like crazy monies, like doesn't have to like lean on his company to make the stuff. He just has so much money he can just do all the R&D himself. He's got, I liked that like proto Bat cave that was just in like an abandoned subway tunnel. It was just like, I don't know. That's my favorite Batman.
Okay.
Hi, Mary.
I want to interject one piece is like, honestly, the piece where Batman not to disagree with you, Ben, but like the piece where Batman invents all of his own stuff, like that's more unbelievable to me because it's like it's so much after a while.
It's a comic. He's supposed to be this genius
I get
detective.
that, but like the thing that makes Batman cool to me is that Batman has that feeling of like possible believability.
Plus,
like,
Lucius Fox did help him off a lot in the both comic and the animated series.
Yeah, but
I don't. Like I said, I don't know those. So.
Yeah,
well, it's like you just think about it. You and I both are hobbyist blacksmiths, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to forging bladed weapons, we know how long that takes. Batman threw, on average, 1 million batarangs in every encounter. It doesn't count what it is. He fired those out like bullets in a shooter game.
It does not show him polishing his brass ever in the movies.
It does not show him
he just
one
leaves them
time
behind.
forging a damn thing. And you're like, I like it where he made his own. Yeah, that's really cool. But when he's throwing out 700,000 batarangs, and then he's like, I had time to make these. No, you didn't.
No, he didn't.
It takes me 4 hours to just forge out a blank.
But
don't even start.
I guarantee he didn't forge those out. He just had them cut out of a CNC mill and done by like an automatic grinding process.
Still gonna take a shitload of time. He's not doing that stuff by himself.
He can start the CNC program before he leaves for the night. He's like, I think I'm gonna go through about 30. So here's the sheet steel. Cut that shit out. I'll throw them on the grinder in the morning.
Heat treated and everything like that. Like, we're gonna have to talk about your tempering skills. I'm just saying, like your blade making ability is obviously lacking.
I mean, he obviously isn't doing like full-on blacksmithing of these batarangs. Otherwise, if he had, then he wouldn't be throwing them out like candy and then not collecting them when he's done. Like these are mass-produced objects routed out on the CNC and machine ground. Like
we're getting off topic, but I believed that Batman had to obviously keep. I like the supply chain. I like the fact that there has to be a group of people involved with it. And I know he likes to be the vigilante, but I always liked that his support structure always included Alfred. Like Alfred was in there. The Commissioner Gordon, he knew who he was. I mean, I don't like the ones that are like, oh, you don't know anymore. Yeah, he fucking always knew. Like, shut up. And like his support group of like Lucius Fox and like they knew.
Mm.
And that Lucius Fox, that's correct. I keep wanting to say Lucius or Morgan, but it's Lucius Fox.
Mm.
Lucius Fox, Morgan Freeman.
Yes, there you go. Which Morgan Freeman could honestly, be a speaking toilet paper roll, and I'd be like, that's the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. He's such a ridiculously good actor. But that made it a little bit more believable, was that he had the supply chain. I do like Inventor Batman. I do love that, but that's also what made Tony Stark so unbelievable. Is that Tony Stark has this time to build 800,000 Iron Man armor? Like, I don't know if you guys Avengers Assemble, but there's hundreds of them. They just fly out everywhere, and it's like nobody knows, because he and his super smart house built them. And he doesn't have a secret identity. Tony Stark doesn't hide it at all.
Yeah, exactly.
He doxed himself.
Tony Stark. He's going to be
your
your
favorite
for another,
Alfred.
Michael Caine.
Yeah, good. That's the only answer.
No, that is not the only
maybe
answer.
not.
Thank you very much.
There's also the one that's like the world where he's like super spec ops. What's the one where there's an Alfred that's he was also ex SAS operative or whatever, that isn't there one, or maybe that's just in the comics.
I mean,
there's an iteration of Alfred that's a ex special forces, British special forces operative that just became the Wayne's butler / bodyguard.
I mean, I think I could be wrong about this, because I might be either getting my continuities mixed up or maybe I'm just thinking about something else. But like, I'm pretty sure it is continuity that like, Alfred did have like wartime experience. I don't know if it's still in continuity that he had like
he was
War
always Spec Ops.
Yeah.
There's one comic where he like beats the shit out of a bunch of thugs and with his.
Well, there was
cane,
also the
and
comic where he becomes evil.
Oh, there's that too.
Yeah, like he legitimately turned into a supervillain for a while.
What was his supervillain moniker?
Just curious. Shit. What was that damn thing? Because it was so short-lived. Fucking like I don't remember.
Because I guarantee people hated it. Alfred.
Well, I mean, yeah, it was fucking dumb as shit. But yeah, no, I'm surprised you guys aren't going with Michael Goff. Pardon? I didn't hear you, Ben. Or
I didn't say anything.
I didn't hear Joel. He said something I didn't hear.
That's the original one.
Yeah, that's the one from well, I mean not the original one, but he's the one from 1989 Batman up through Batman and Robin. Yeah.
Okay, the Outsider.
Oh, that's right.
He was in Silver Age, and he was like led a secret society.
Yes.
See, that one like.
Oh, but that's the continuity where you have evil Batman too, because it was oh no. I'm just reading the wiki. Apparently,
it's okay. We can come back to that.
We'll come back to it.
What did you say, Joel?
I feel like that Alfred kind of like. I feel like the 1989 to the what is it 97? Isn't that where?
I want to say that's about right. Yeah.
Yeah, I want those Batmans. I feel like we're kind of like this like visual orgy of just like throw out as much Batman shit as you can see, you know, like. But as far as like it was more like just this silly barrage of cameos, you know, like it was campy, it was silly, it was like a mixture of like Batman, the Brave and the Bold, you know, that kid's version of Batman, and then like trying to stay true to Batman. And I don't remember an awful lot of the Butler in that one. Like,
I mean, he didn't have a huge role, but like,
right,
he did have a definite presence that I enjoyed. Like I mean, Michael Goff as an actor is, you know, kind of like really, I don't know, I like him a lot, but or liked him. Rest in peace.
He started acting when it was like, you're fired. Like, you get it right one away. He was a classically trained actor. Yeah, but.
Yeah, classically trained British actor.
Yeah, but Michael Caine, I just remember when he's you know, like he had some pivotal moments in there, such as
I still use this one on my toddler of what do we do when we fall down? We get ourselves back up, or we pick ourselves back up, or whatever. My kid got mad because he like fell like while running or something, and then I was like, "What do we do when we fall down? We get back up again."
I just remember like the Batman. I can't remember the one with the Joker for some reason. The name is escaping me, but that's the Dark Knight Rises, right?
No, that's the Dark Knight.
The Dark Knight. Okay. Sorry. Where he's sitting there and he's like, we were chasing a man in Africa, and he'd been stealing gems.
Someone just wants to see the world burn.
Right. And he tells that story of like, you know, you've got to, and that was the most pivotal thing, because the whole time they're like, how are we catching the Joker? What's his motivation? And
they're like looking for a real person that's like not just maniacal and wanting to just like cause chaos for the sake of chaos. Right. They're expecting to find, it's like, you know, they're expecting to find this alter ego, and there isn't one. It's just there's only the Joker.
And that's the thing, like that, and then that Alfred, I feel like, ran into the he became a character and not just like a trope, not just like the guy bringing, you know, his lobster thermidor, you know, as in the Lego Batman movie.
Yeah.
I'll certainly agree that like Michael Goff did not have as much of a role as Michael Caine, But one of the things that's always sticks out to me when I think of that particular like Alfred that I really enjoy was it's 1989 Batman, and Bruce Wayne is like looking through some files, trying to like figure out the who the Joker is and like what he can do to stop him and whatnot. And Alfred is like basically putting away his bat suit, right? And
Mm-hmm.
like there's this moment between them where they're like, "What's on your mind, Alfred?" And he kind of like looks up at Bruce and he's all like, "I have no wish to fill my remaining years with memories of lost old ones." And then he looks at Bruce as he like closed the door on the Batman suit, and he says, "Or their sons."
Mm.
And then he walks off. And it was this powerful and quiet moment where like he had just like placed the evidence of the Wayne murder on like Bruce's desk and whatnot, and you can really get this sense in that very quiet moment that he legitimately cared for both the Waynes and Batman, and there's not a lot of dialogue needed. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Like Michael Caine loves to speechify. He loves to go into these long things of like, "I failed you," like he's fucking doing his thing. But at the same time, like Michael Goff could do those quiet moments, which resonated with me.
That's why I think I know I'm waxing about the new Batman movie again. I think they did a really good job with that Alfred as well, because it's like this is like because they really like went into the whole thing where it's like he is a man who was basically he was always the butler. He wasn't like a nanny or anything, but all of a sudden, like overnight, he became, and he's like this. He's essentially, he's kind of in that like bodyguard butler trope for the Waynes, and all of a sudden, overnight, he's like, he has to figure out how to raise an orphan, and like no say in it. It's just all of a sudden he's like he's got to figure it out, and he's like I it's the still like it's the Alfred that's like I failed you, but he's like regardless of like whatever flight of fancy Bruce has undergone in this time, because it's a lot of it's left unsaid. He's like I'm sorry I like there's that like bedside sort of scene where he's like I tried to protect you, I tried to raise a good man, and I failed, because he's like just seeing this Bruce just devolve into this just angry, vengeance-filled man, and he's like thinking that he failed. And then like you have that scene where Bruce is like, "No, you didn't. You did everything you could," sort of thing, and that's kind of like the pivotal moment where Bruce stopped just being a like vengeance machine and started actually being the Batman.
Controversial opinion. I honestly think my favorite Batman is Terry McGinnis.
Batman Beyond?
The Batman Beyond.
Like the old grouchy Batman that's tired of everyone?
No, I think Terry was honestly one of my favorite people to wear the cowl. I think Terry.
Oh, like okay, gotcha. Not Bruce Wayne. The
no, not.
But it's
Bruce
only
Wayne.
an animated series, like and a comic book. There's no movie about it. It's just
that is. Well, there is technically a movie about it. The Batman Return of the Joker movie.
Mm-hmm.
It is an animated
those
movie.
Lionsgate ones, they're rough.
No. This one came before
great.
those. Yeah, this was before
the Red
the Lionsgate.
Spectre, right? Or no, that's a different one.
No. This one came out.
He did have the coolest costume.
It's because he could actually fly.
Yeah.
And it was spent in the future, and there was a lot of silliness to it, but he was brought about. He had a Billy Batson feel, like he was like, you actually want to do what's right. You don't have shit to your name. I've got money to burn. Let's do this,
Yeah. Like he was a nice fit for Batman because he had like all the elements of like a year one Batman where he's starting out.
Like
so
he makes his mistakes and
exactly, but at the same time, he was still like you could see elements of Batman just radiate from him. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
he made his mistakes, but then there were other elements where you're all like, "Oh shit, he's fucking Batman." You know, like
yeah. That's those moments where like Bruce is like, "What the fuck are you thinking?" Like
sometimes, yeah. Like one of the things that like sticks out to me was it was a particular episode of Batman Beyond. In fact, it was one of the first episodes, or I'm sorry, it was the first episode with the Royal Flush Gang. It was you know, like
so great. They were also unnecessarily overpowered for androids, but like still
they
so
weren't
much
androids.
fun. No, the Ace was an android.
Ace was the android, yes.
Yeah.
And he had like fucking Bane strength.
Yeah, like God, like so strong. But they were like unnecessarily strong, and I doubt the technology will exist for us to have paper thin flying decks.
I mean,
the way we're going, like
yeah, we are in the darkest timeline. But if we
Yeah.
hadn't gone down this road,
Yeah.
ever since they killed Harambe.
yeah, no, but like that episode where he's tracing the phone call that 10 gave him, back to like her hotel suite to like find her because he thinks that like she's maybe in danger or that there's something else going on behind her, and you know, like he finds out her identity, but she doesn't find out who he is. And it's this scene after they all get arrested after the big fight, and he's walking over to Bruce, who's in the shadows of an alleyway. And
Bruce
he's
cannot be in direct light ever.
Yeah, it just
Ever
doesn't
since his
happen.
parents were murdered, he's got to be
He's
in
always
like
like-
3/4 darkness at all points in
Yeah.
time.
Always.
You know how like
broody.
some people have like a light, you know, that they like have with them to like illuminate like a book or something. No, he's just got like dark, and it's just like, you know. Anyway,
He's got
So-
like a perpetual light behind his head, so he can only be in silhouette.
yeah. So he goes over to like Bruce, and you know, he's talking about like how he had this really complex relationship with 10, and how, you know, Bruce probably doesn't understand it, and like Bruce has this hard scowl on his look, and he just like, there's this slow smile that creeps across his face, and he goes, "Let me tell you about a woman named Selena Kyle." And I was
Yeah,
just like,
it's-
shit.
It's interesting because I hadn't thought about it before, but in that series, basically, Bruce is fulfilling the role of Alfred for a new Batman.
Yes, and I don't know, like just everything about that show, it fucking worked.
So what
for
we
me.
found
You
is,
understand? Like
Bruce Wayne is the best Alfred. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really like Batman.
Yeah.
Beyond. But jumping off of that for a quick second. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, it's depending on the time of my life, Batman has been different. Like now, this age Joel likes the grittier justice above all, because like as we said on the other time when we attempted to talk about this Batman,
They're like,
huh?
the
No, it's
Batmans
fine.
are always like a reflection of what's going on at the
Yeah.
time with what
Like
people
you
want.
want this Batman to exist. You want
Yeah.
somebody who is like a part of both sides of the system, helping change it for those with no power. But like as a kid, like man, I like this Justice League Batman and the gadget Batman. Oh my God, where do you get these beautiful toys? Like, oh my God, that guy was the greatest.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
but
And I agree with you in the sense that I would really like a kind of Batman figure in today's society who's like still using his wealth and power for good, while at the same time going out there to defend, you know, weak and helpless people. Although when it comes to like Batman, I have a similar feeling for Batman that I do for Superman, in the sense that I don't want them to solve the biggest problems of society, if that makes any sense. Like I want them to be out there working for those problems, but I don't want them to solve it, because as Superman said, his vision of what a utopia would be like is going to be very different than like someone else's vision of a utopia, and he doesn't believe he has the right to make his utopia everyone's utopia.
Mm-hmm.
right. See, the thing is what I liked about the Batman the Christian Bale Batmans is they did have a show where Christian Bale he would use his money to kind of like manipulate things, you know, and he would use his connections to get in there. Like, oh, we need to get to the guy who's got all of the like mob's money. Batman can't get in there, you know. Bruce Wayne can, you know, and it was the thing is funny is like these characters developed, like Superman and Batman developed when we were very much separate economies and separate entities. Like America was America. Sure, we imported a little bit of stuff here and there that we didn't make, but for the most part, America was made in America. We did everything in America. We were Americans, right? And all this belief that everything we did that made us the greatest thing in the world in like the 30s.
Yeah.
Right? We didn't know, like, now we can't. Like, there's a problem in China. We feel it here because a lot of shit is made overseas. A lot of shit is made in places, and so that we are now not an isolated economy. We are not an isolated system.
Yeah.
And so a lot of these, like, the stuff that we see in like the creation is like we said in the last one, the last time we talked about it, where Superman is such an awkward character nowadays because we don't know what it means anymore. You know, Batman is quite the opposite. You know, he is becoming.
Yeah, we no longer have faith in truth, justice, in the American way because.
But Batman is becoming the personification of a not American sense of justice, but just this overall sense of what is right. Like, are you allowed to go and enslave people? Some countries it's legal, some countries it's not. To Batman, it's not legal, period. Is it okay? Like the League of Assassins with Ra's al Ghul, you know, where he was operating, was that illegal? Probably not. But to him, that's illegal. Like, he presents this like overarching sense of right and wrong that I think we as people, especially in America, where we have like all this heinous shit happening and people being like, that's fine because of blah blah blah, or I hate this because of blah blah blah. We've got this icon who's saying no, it's wrong, or yeah, it's okay. And Batman represents this like immovable force that is setting himself up as like and he's succeeded in so many things. He's super strong, world's best martial artist, absolutely brilliant, beyond rich, like, and a pillar of industry. So like by all these different metrics, he is like the apex, and yet he still holds these ideals that are not swayed by his status or like people trying to bribe him or anything like that. Like he presents an ideal that I think people look to and secretly hope for, you know, and we wish like our leaders would be like that. They're not.
Yeah. Everyone wants billionaires to actually be philanthropic and care, but you don't get into that spot by being philanthropic and care.
You know, I mean, you got George Soros that gives his money out to save stuff, and that German guy, which I can never remember his name, was supposed to be giving his money out to help stuff, but then they're also vilified by the other guys who are like, why can't I have a tank in my backyard? You know, I mean...
Yeah. It's a complicated subject to get into when it comes to, like, real world, like, politics and whatnot. But let's kind of...
I want one last piece to add on to that before we move on to not so serious stuff about Batman.
Well, no, I was going to talk about something kind of serious, though, because...
Okay,
when we
Can I add
go ahead.
The cool thing about that, I think, with Batman, though, is Batman created, like, Batman has encompassed this, like, no matter what side of the political spectrum you're on, somehow Batman supports your beliefs. Somehow Batman supports everybody's values of, like, what's right and wrong. And nobody looks at Batman and goes, that's fucked up. And when he creates a solution or an argument or anything, it's unassailable. Like, everybody's like, huh, that was wrong.
No
and
one
then,
looks
like,
at Batman and goes, I hate that guy.
Yeah. But, like, when he presents a situation that something's fucked up, everybody's like, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that was fucked up. And then they just all accept it, go for it. Like, and it's always a simple like just throws a dossier on the file, you know, or like uploads a clip onto the online, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, we didn't know that these people were evil. I guess we're gonna not work with them." You know, it was just, it was, but it was, it presented something that we all wish would happen. You know, instead we see things that are messed up every day, and we're like, "That's life. That's how we do it here."
Mhm.
You know. Sorry, that was my soapbox. I'll get down from it now. And
Well, the thing that I kind of wanted to touch on a little bit was some of the thing, like, because what you touched on is very much Bruce Wayne. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the Bruce Wayne side of the coin, where Bruce is very committed to justice, not just as the Batman, but also as Bruce Wayne. He's almost uncorruptible in terms of like where his company is, what he's doing. He's always kind of like using that side of himself to try and do good. But when he's out there as Batman, he's just punching the shit out of people. And my question for you guys is, okay, obviously justice punching. I think we can all basically agree that when it comes to villains like the Joker, or if it goes to like Bane or Clayface or something like that, like punching is perfectly acceptable. You know what I'm saying?
Except for Clayface, it does nothing.
Well, the thing is, like, when it comes to someone like Killer Croc or whatnot,
right.
I mean, it's like, how do you stop that aside from punching? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because
Bane is brilliant. Bane is. It's funny because of
Bane
Ben's
is basically
favorite.
like Jekyll and Hyde. Like.
No, he's always brilliant. Like even jacked, he's brilliant.
There was that time that he created like the Venom formula, which retained his intelligence and was just like unfucking stoppable.
Yeah.
But like what I was saying was, there are some villains who are very physical in nature, where it's like, okay, well, look, you have to put them down at some point. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no way that you can reason with someone like Killer Croc. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
he just wants to eat people.
Yeah, exactly. Or, like when it's the Joker, no one's going to shed a tear that you punched the Joker in the face. He's evil. We get that he's evil.
Right.
People
He's
are going to be
the
like, okay, yeah.
personification of evil, and he'll say it.
Exactly, yeah. So, more my question is not necessarily those types of characters, not the ones who are legitimately evil and probably deserve to be punched in the face for some reason or another, or the ones where, okay, well, look, he has to be put down and like, someone's got to do it, sort of thing. My question is, when it comes to the lower street thug level, or when it comes to villains who are a little bit more sympathetic, like say for example Mr. Freeze. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Is
Poison
what
Ivy
like to a lesser
Poison Ivy is crazy.
Well, she is crazy, but you kind of get where she's coming from a little bit. But like her solution is bad, but like you get where she's coming from.
Oh, certainly. But my question is
all
what
like mammalian creatures.
Sorry, say again.
Like her solution is like kill all mammals. Like she's terrible. Like,
yeah,
only plants shall survive.
World, yeah.
She goes a little eco-terrorist in the
like way too far into that one.
Yeah, you've on one side of the spectrum you have like oil companies, on the other side of the spectrum Poison Ivy, and we're kind of trying to like aim for middle.
Yeah, right. That's what I mean. Like
Poison Ivy, her plans are like, we're gonna kill everything that doesn't eat eats plants, and you're like, oh fuck, that's literally everything.
Whoops.
Yeah. She invented a lipstick that literally kills people in seconds. Like I'm just gonna say, she's pretty evil.
She's pretty evil, yeah.
But I'm saying I also get where she's coming from. Like you don't get where the Joker is coming from.
Where you're like,
she's like it's like what Brian said. It's like she's like super evil eco-terrorist, but at the same time it's like her points for her end game may be evil, but like her like why
it's genocide.
Okay, her end game. Okay, that's not what I mean. You're mincing my words.
100% all
okay, her end game is evil, but like why her reasoning for why she believes it. You know, like maybe she got off the path a little bit, but like you know why she got from point A to point B.
You do realize that her. I'm a little speechless right now. Like her entire plan is
No. Like I'm
no,
not saying I understand.
In Animal Kingdom, we have the two overarching classes of flora and fauna. She wants to cut one of those off. And
Yes,
be like,
I agree that
the whole thing, and you're like, it's
I'm
not
saying
bad.
the problem that she presents as she wants to get rid of.
She's literally trying to cut the entire
I get that. She's evil. She wants to kill all
That is the broadest scale genocide of any character I've ever heard in the entirety of my reading history.
So
let's leave it at this. Ben
she's
thinks
like
she's
bacteria.
Hot, okay.
Fuck
yes.
them.
Okay.
They eat
Damn
plants. Fish. Fuck them. They eat plants. Huh. Birds. Also fuck them. Like literally across the board, everything that's not.
I'm saying from her like environmentalist standpoint, like you can sort of agree with her. You can also say that her solution to the.
I'm gonna just quickly report you to the FBI there, Ben.
Okay. I'm saying like her environmentalist standpoint makes sense. Like, yeah, we are fucking up the earth. Her solution does not make sense. Her solution of kill all animals does not like it's basically completely overboard. She's evil. Moving on.
Winding back now.
We just Ben's like, I totally understand killing all living creatures that don't produce CO2.
You are. I'm talking. No, that's not what I'm saying. You are conflating what I'm saying.
We don't need to. We'll come back to poison ivy. We don't need to relitigate that right now. My point that I was trying to get to was, as the Batman, not as Bruce Wayne, but as the Batman, are there some instances where you think what the Batman does, inspiring fear within the criminal element, punching the shit out of villains and so on and so forth, is there a point where you look at this and you say, is Batman really doing the right thing here? Because again, there are some instances like with the truly evil or the villains who have to actually be stopped, where you're like, okay, well, yeah, obviously you got to punch him, or obviously, you know, you've got to throw a batarang at that thing. But are there other elements where it's like, maybe Batman's just a dick?
Well, I would say that that's kind of like a central theme of like Batman. Like the whole point of a lot of the Batman thing is the reason a lot of these supervillains came into being was because of his existence. And that's why a lot of people, like, you see a lot of themes in Gotham where people don't like Batman because they think that you would, like, without Batman, like, there's no, like there wasn't a Joker or a Penguin or a Riddler or a Poison Ivy or anything before Batman showed up. But, and then...
While I will agree with you that there is a scale of escalation, I disagree with you that Batman is the correlate, like the factor that causes these villains to become villains. Like, for example, Mr. Freeze was going to become Mr. Freeze with or without Batman. Like, because that accident that turned him into Mr. Freeze, and then his subsequent rampage to try to get vengeance was going to happen whether there was a Batman or not.
That's fair.
The problem with that is understanding where they came from and why they're there. Like, a lot of it is, like, Batman is the one that was created first. He is the character.
Yeah,
he is the hero of the story. So, like, there is no purpose for them to be there. So it's kind of like a futile argument to be like, well, if Batman was here, would the Penguin be here?
But
no, because the author, like the writers, would have nothing to write without coming up with it. Now, going back to your story of Batman punching the shit out of like the low-level drug dealer, you know, or like the mugger, or you know, that kind of stuff. It depends in what stage you're at. Like, for Ben's favorite of the Batman, Robert Pattinson's version of it. Yes, I believe it is important for him to be on the ground doing the work and letting the legend of the Batman and the notoriety of the Batman,
To
be
establish a
like,
presence, then. Yeah.
right, to establish a presence. Now, when you get to the Dark Knight, and now he's been doing this for decades, he's got bat caves and he's got like a supply chain of crates of batarangs getting delivered and all this other stuff. I don't think it serves a purpose because if they're like, Batman will be here and kick our ass, and then they're like, yeah, I don't care.
Because
He hasn't done his job.
Because I think
Like-
a lot of that. Sorry, Joel. A lot of the crux of gets explored in Dark Knight is like he does this night after night after night, and regardless of how much he like fights crime, Gotham's still a shithole. Like that's sort of like a lot of the what I was gonna say was like a lot of the other theme of Batman is like at the end, like, yeah, he's the symbol of fear, but like it was like
he's not a big deterrent.
Yeah,
like,
he's one man. Like it doesn't like
no
like,
powers.
Like
it's
yes,
not like
there's
the
a
Flash
chance
or
if you go
Superman.
out with with the express purpose of doing evil, there's like there's a chance that you're gonna like you might run into this crazy dude with a that will punch you in the face. But it's like the same level of risk of you might run into a cop that night while you're trying to mug somebody.
Interesting point, because also in Batman, the lower key you do things, the less likely you are to raise suspicion.
Yeah.
Now, the bigger you do things, such as my favorite episode of any Batman ever with the giant cake in the middle of downtown, that automatically is going to cause attention,
Mm-hmm.
Like, and so it kind of makes you wonder. So Gotham City is still a shithole.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is it because they learn? Now, Gotham City is not so much like
If they get their business done quick and take
no, it's more what is corruption? Corruption is like beneath the surface.
Yeah.
Like it's on the top of it's on the surface everything could look great, but once you get a few levels below, then you start seeing the rot. And that's what Gotham City has become.
Yeah.
Because Gotham City is these layers of freshly cleaned streets, and then underneath it, like those streets are also being, like the people that are cleaning the streets are also charging you thousands of dollars to not burn your building down or whatever the hell it is. Like mobs rule everything. Order is kept by crime syndicates, and that is another thing you think Ben just brought up, and I just thought about it. Is Batman's is the fear that he brings the reason why there's so much organized crime? Because if you look at anything in Gotham City and Bloodhaven, with Nightwing, who are the same damn thing.
Well, let's differentiate here a little bit, because for people who don't know Batman lore, the way that both Gotham City and Bloodhaven are fictional cities. I think somewhere along the northeast coast.
Mm-hmm.
They're usually depicted as like New York City kind of thing.
Yep.
And Bloodhaven is just south of Gotham.
Mm-hmm.
And whereas with Gotham, this problem starts on the street and works its way up. Bloodhaven is the opposite in the sense that the corruption starts at City Hall and then feeds out through everything else. That's the way Bloodhaven has always worked.
Okay.
So while I agree that like maybe you have a point in terms of like the crime syndicate like owning everything.
And Batman being almost the same.
Oh, okay, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, not the two cities, but like that their method of operation is the same. Very similar.
I mean, they are very similar. In fact, Dick Grayson, who was Nightwing, also became Batman for a time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In the comics, when Batman was thought to be dead, he wasn't. He was traveling through time. Comic books, yeah.
As one does.
Yeah. No, there was a good period of time in which, Dick Grayson filled the role as Batman.
I think, like, one of the points, like, I never was able to understand, and I think it just clicked with Ben talking, was, like, it is that overtop, like, the Batman being one guy. So, like, with knowing if you're too loud, the Batman is going to come out and punch you in your face, or if you're too like
There's
obvious,
they always
Batman
talk about
face.
the threat was like if you do something, the bat might show up. But that's
Yeah,
like
but the thing being
if
is
you're
I'm
looking
so
at this,
quiet about it.
yeah. If you're
It's so
looking at this, like
underground. Yeah.
if you're looking at this mega city where there's I don't know 100 murders a night or whatever, or 100 muggings a night, you have a 99% chance
He won't see you.
that Batman's not going to be there. So it's like yes, it becomes the symbol of fear that he might be out, but it's like at the end of the day, that's always kind of like the thing is like like he might be there, but odds are he's not. So we're gonna do it anyway because if we pull off this job, we might not have to do this anymore, or like whatever, or like we'll get paid, or you know.
And that goes back to like the other big ones in the DC universe, the Flash and Superman.
Yeah.
They will catch you. 100 muggings a night.
That's why Metropolis is Metropolis. Like
yeah. And Metropolis is always like the shining, gleaming,
right.
like perfect city where like nobody does shit except for Lex Luthor, who just doesn't know how to relocate.
What city is the Flash in? Is he doesn't operate? What was it?
Well,
Central City.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Central City. But it also depends on which Flash we're talking about. But
Right.
let's not get into that.
I'm not.
No, we could go Flash
big in
in
the
different.
Flash lore. So
Yeah, typically it's Central City.
Yeah.
Because I'm assuming you're talking about like the Barry Allen Flash.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think technically Wally West is also in Central City, but if I'm not mistaken, I think which one was it? I think it was Bart Allen who was in Keystone City.
But he's also from the future.
I mean, yeah. There's all sorts of like Flash lore is really complicated.
Yeah, it's super. They overpowered that guy. Yeah, they just made him all sorts of stuff. But like,
we'll get into Flash later.
Yeah,
Batman.
the Flash, I love him, but he's so silly and so not at the same time.
Before we get into more, you guys want to take a quick break?
Yeah, sure. We can take a break.
All right. So we'll be right back. Go ahead.
All right. Well, welcome back. If you're just joining us, thank you very much. We're talking about Batman. And the question at hand that I had for my other friends here is one of, okay, so Batman goes out there every night and he is stopping the criminal element. And I understand that, like, in year one, year two, or even like in, say, for example, Batman Beyond, there is a moment where he has to establish his presence among the criminal element. And I also understand that he has to stop supervillains. You know what I'm saying? Like, the Joker is going to do this thing. Batman has to stop him. So, I mean, if he has to punch the Joker, he has to punch the Joker. Killer Croc isn't going to listen to reason, nor is Man-Bat. So, like, obviously, he's got to punch those as well. You know what I'm saying?
Forgot Man-Bat exists. Just like, that's got to be the laziest writing ever. They're like, "Who's Batman fighting?" And they're like,
He's a Man-Bat.
"What about a guy that's part bat?" And they're like a Man-Bat? Yeah, that's it. That's it right there. What's he do? Bat
He's
stuff.
a bat.
He's a bat. He's a vampire bat. Like,
yeah.
So okay,
he literally had the echolocation, and you could beat him by being like,
yeah.
"Ah,
I remember him in the Lego Batman games, where it's like all you had to do is go and make a loud noise, and he'd be like down for a bit, and so you could just go and punch the shit out of him until he recovered.
Yeah. So okay. Obviously, I understand there are some villains he's gonna have to hit, but when he is dealing with the criminal element on, say, for example, a slow night in Gotham, you know what I'm saying? He's already established at this point, but he's Batman. He's out there. He's being Batman. Obviously, maybe it's okay for him to punch a guy who's about to rape some woman. That is probably.
I feel that's
okay.
a very punchable reason.
Yeah, that seems okay. Yeah, that seems fine. But my question, I suppose I'm getting at, is, does that fill a role? I mean, yeah, obviously, if he stops a rape or a murder, then that's good. I'm not arguing that he shouldn't punch people who are about to commit violent crime. But when it comes to him being Batman, is there a moment in which you look at that and, because, like, in our current day and age, there's a lot of talk about whether or not police are too militarized. You know what I'm saying? Like, whether or not we have too much authority put into
Could you imagine a police force like Batman? They're just traumatized murder machines. Like, that'd be like Batman's approach works because he's a single entity.
But he's still not held accountable to anything, which is my point.
No, he's not. He's not. And that's another one too. Is like, you also have an interesting like dichotomy. Like, there's some in like the Batman and Batman the Animated Series, where they were looking for, like, the Batman, like, he's a vigilante, we can't have vigilantes, blah 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 blah, right?
Well, I called him in because it's a special case, Yeah,
but then, like, other ones where they're like, it's like he's been around so long, they're just like, Batman helps. And then you've got, of course, the apex of Batman Trust, which is the Adam West version, where the police don't even leave their office.
Got a direct line to the commissioner, like direct phone line.
Like, we don't even.
It definitely depends on which Batman you're looking at, for sure. But I guess my broader question is there a point where, like, okay, let's just say, for the sake of argument, okay, run with me on this. I'm gonna give you guys a hypothetical. We'll say one day in an alternate continuity that Batman cleans up the street of all the supervillains. Not all the criminal element, but he captures or kills or does whatever is needed for all the supervillains. There are no more supervillains. And we'll say,
talking like supervillains, like all of the costumed villains, or
all of the costumed villains.
Because like some of them.
Yeah, there is no Mad Hatter. There is no King Tut. There is no.
There's
We
no.
can leave
like,
King
Are
Cut.
we including
I
Falcone,
feel like King
or
Cut
are we
just
like?
added a nice daily
Well,
flair.
Okay, we'll say that like all costume villains are off the streets for
Okay.
one
Right.
reason or another. They're all gone. Okay, there is
What about
no.
the like Falcone crime family or?
I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Okay.
I'm getting there. Okay, so when all costume villains are off the street, there's no more.
Hold on, but
There's nothing in Gotham that the police can't handle.
but hold on. I wanna point out though, the Penguin's not actually in a costume, but he's considered a costume villain. But the Penguin is above all a mobster. He doesn't. The
Depends
Penguin's
on the
never worn.
penguin.
The Penguin's never worn a costume. He wears a tuxedo.
That's
like,
true.
He is
but-
clearly a supervillain.
But-
Clearly, he's like higher end, but he's a mobster.
Well, okay. When I'm presenting my scenario and I say there are no more costume villains, what I mean is that there are
I
no
know
more
what you mean. I'm saying just
supervillains.
in. I get that, but what I'm saying is already in the continuum of Gotham City, those waters are muddied. Just
Oh,
right
certainly.
there. Like,
Absolutely.
Because like, where do you draw that line? Are you like, okay, well, Falcone, he's okay, but like Oswald Cobblepot is not. You know.
Yes, and I'll tell
like,
you why. I'll tell you why, because there's a very simple difference between the two. Okay?
umbrellas that shoot guns.
More or less, actually, because that's the thing. When we're talking about the criminal element that I'm talking about here, when I pose this hypothetical to you,
Traditional criminals.
I'm talking about criminals who, for one reason or another, are more than the police can handle. Whether it's because of the size and the scope of their like criminal plots, like because sometimes the Penguin goes like crazy big with it, and it's all like, oh, welcome to my aviary of doom.
Yeah. You've got like Danny DeVito Penguin, which is like over the top, and then you've got like Danny DeVito.
Yeah.
You've got like
Danny DeVito Penguin, who's about to launch like all these missiles at Gotham using remote controlled penguins to like do his bidding.
I still
still
100% believe that the police can handle that. Like, what do we got? We got penguins. Huh.
Well,
right.
I mean, the police could probably also handle Poison Ivy. She's a chick who controls plants. It's not going to be that big of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. She creates giant thorny vines that kill people and like mind control them. Like, I'd say probably not that one.
I mean,
but
maybe not, but a bullet to the head
Harley
still works
Quinn,
the same.
Harley Quinn flips around, makes people horny, and then hits you with a hammer. That's her power. Like, that's not really like an over-the-top thing.
Right. But
I mean, if you really look at it,
you still understand what I'm saying, though, right?
I get what you're saying, but I mean, like, these villains are so convoluted that, like, you've got some that classify as like unusual. Like, what is it?
Yeah.
The Clockmaster, who literally just is really good at scheduling shit, and then you've got a guy named Calendar Man, who I haven't even bothered to look at what he can do, because that's the most boring name I've ever heard. And then you've got, like,
Batman
the
has
Joker,
the
who is truly, like, doesn't make any sense. Like, so he is way outside
the quintessential villain that
right.
Like, what's the... You hear supervillain, who do you think of? It's gonna be Joker.
Right. And then you've got, like, you've got the Riddler, which depending...
Like that.
The Riddler, depending on like what he does, the early Adam
Early
West
Joker is
version,
like,
he just popped in and asked you like a mild brain teaser.
Well,
riddle me this, Batman. What time is it if the 4 is 4? And you're like, who cares? And then he just fucks off. Like, he doesn't do anything.
And then you've got the Batman version of
Riddle me this, Joel.
Who's a serial killer / mass murderer, streaming on Twitch. Yeah.
What is it that every man wants to win and yet no man wants to have?
What?
A lawsuit. That was actually one that he did. I fucking love
a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, is like...
Should Batman punch Riddler in the face, or should you just slap him around a couple times and throw him back into Arkham?
Okay, we're really getting off topic here, and I want to wrap this up.
What we're getting is traditional versus atypical criminals. Like, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Like, If Batman got rid of all of the atypical criminals,
Yes.
and now we're just left with typical, real world crime.
Right, because we have mobsters in real life. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We have
None
people
of them
who
with
go out there.
penguin
Yeah,
themed
exactly.
Yeah.
We don't have mobsters out there who are threatening to blow up a city using an army of remote controlled penguins. That is a thing that we don't have yet.
Basically, if you take out the
there's copyright law, they won't do that.
So basically, what we're talking about is the villains that exist because Batman is a thing versus the ones that aren't. Maybe. I mean, I'm simplifying.
What we're talking about is if any of the villains have a moniker like Taxman, then
let's be honest, that is the most evil character.
Yeah.
I mean,
the Taxman,
no question.
That's the guy. He robs all of us, and we just let him do it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can make an argument for someone like Victor Zsasz. You can make an argument for someone like Victor Zsasz. You know what I'm saying? He's a serial murderer. You know what I'm saying? Like he's marking his flesh with all the numbers of his victims. But my point is,
he's so stupid. I'm sorry, Zsasz is just, what are you, a bad guy?
That's the reason he's the first one you encounter in Arkham Asylum.
What are you doing, bad guy stuff? How do you know? Because he's just over the top. All right, but anyway, so do I think that
better question.
Batman would have a reason to exist with atypical criminals gone and only traditional crime? My belief is no. The character of Batman that exists as we're gonna go with my personal favorite of the Dark Knight, the established Batman, the established character. I would say no. I would say, because you remember at the end where he put Harvey Dent, who, by the way, even though he was Two-Face, became the symbol that he wanted everybody to have, the symbol of law according to actual law. No need for anything above and beyond. I think if Gotham City was rid of all atypical criminals, all costumed criminals, or ones with names or whatever, he would hang it up. He'd be like, the rest of this is for the police.
Really? Because I think he started his journey before there were any costume villains, though.
But that's also because his journey was started in the heyday of organized crime. He started after organized crime had hit the biggest boom because of prohibition. Mm-hmm. So of course he's going to go for that. That's the thing that is. But this is 70 to almost 100 years later.
I would argue,
Batman's 90-some years old now.
Yeah. Again, because in current continuity, Batman has been doing what he's doing for round about 10 years, nebulous. You know what I'm saying?
Right, but the character of Batman is 90+ years old. Give or take.
Certainly. He's getting close to
Yeah, I think it was 20. I think it was 32 or some shit in the mid-30s.
Yeah,
I want to say he came out.
He's nearly a century old.
Yeah. And but he came out in the heyday of organized crime, and Batman. Batman is very good at following what is the current trend, what is the current thing we're really upset with. And I mean, we've got the crazy stuff that come in, the Joker and Harley Quinn and all those, they're the old standbys. But we don't talk about organized crime as much because it's not as on the foreground of our mind anymore, So I mean,
real quick, Joel. I hate to interrupt for a second, Ben. I can actually hear Joel through your microphone. I don't know if you've got your audio.
I'll turn the headset down. That's probably what's going on.
Sorry, I didn't want to have to. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. But I get what you're saying, that he started in the heyday of crime, and therefore it kind of made sense for him to be around punching regular criminal. But my question to you is, if he cleans up the street, and he still is Batman. Not whether or not he will give up the cowl, but like, let's say he doesn't, okay? And he's still Batman. Is there a point where Batman becomes something where we don't want him to be Batman? Like, would we say at some point that, hey, this is a job for the cops who, even though technically don't get held accountable nearly enough anyways, technically speaking, there is still a system in place by which they can be?
That's a loaded question because, like, Batman personifies, like, unassailable justice, right? Like, he does what's right regardless of whether you like it or not. He does what he believes is right.
Yes.
And it depends because, like, in this current day and age, you've got various police officers. We all know of some that do the job because it's in them to do it, and they are there to do the right thing. And then you have other cops that you're like, that you look at and you're like, ooh, I knew he was going to become a cop because he can write up paperwork and beat the shit out of somebody. Like, and we all know that. So I mean, like, I don't know. I think in order for us to have that happen, I think we would need to see a revamping of our police structure, and actually to the point where trust is to the level that it would be.
I mean, if you think about it, we had a Batman that hung up the cowl in the Dark Knight trilogy, where, you know, he took down the forces assailing Gotham. He took out, like, the mob structure, and at which point, you know, when he flew a nuke out over the Atlantic Ocean, he faked his own death so that he didn't have to come back and keep doing his thing. Like,
right.
To a degree, yeah. I mean, I do think that there are some problems with, like, how that all kind of was
played
out.
Ending.
It was
like,
a very
let's not
shit
even
ending.
worry about it. It was a shit ending.
Yeah.
Like, I hated it, but, like, I mean.
Well, my question is, like, I agree with you, Joel, that, like, we need, say, you know, things like police reform, because, you know, obviously there are bad apples in the system that we, you know, everyone knows they're there. I mean, everyone probably at some point or another, like, the way that I best heard someone describe it is, like, even if you're not doing anything wrong, like, if you drive past a police officer's cruiser who's just sitting at an intersection, you don't think to yourself, oh, hey, it's a police officer. I'm glad he's here. No, you think, oh, shit. Yeah, exactly.
You go, oh, shit, was I speeding? Did I run the red light? Did I do this thing?
Yeah.
Is my blinker out? Is my taillight on? Like,
police just cause anxiety, whether you've done something or not. You know what I'm saying? They're just, it's a thing. But my question is, doesn't that set, like, a really bad precedent, though? Where it's like, if we're willing to give, like, obviously the system right now isn't working for a lot of people. I get that. I'm not trying to minimize that. But what I'm saying is, doesn't that send a really bad signal that we're willing to let some guy who could legit have mental issues and could be going out there and just punching people in the face for all the wrong reasons, whether they're guilty or not? We don't actually know. Like, doesn't that set, like, kind of a tone where it's like, we are okay with people doing this. We are okay with people taking the law into their own hands.
Again, this is where this type of thing only works as a work of fiction. You know, because we've seen, I don't know if you guys ever kept track of, like, Phoenix Jones or the real world vigilante in, like, Seattle, where he would go around and, like, punch drug dealers in the face and call 911 on people. And, like, he got the shit kicked out of him constantly. Like, and it was, looked at as more of a public nuisance.
Yeah.
And that, you know, while the intention was there, he didn't become the symbol of, like, justice as he was hoping. He became more like a memeable joke.
Yeah, he became a crazy person.
Yeah, and I think like Batman only works because he's not in this world. Like Batman is only works because he's a story, and it's a story where you get to see both sides of the character. Like we can't, if we had the ability to look into the heads of law enforcement or our vigilantes, it's different. Because like if I can look into the head and be like, oh, this cop is legit, I now trust you. As opposed to this cop was the bully in high school and decided to get a job because he wants to be able to punch people and carry a gun around and scare people. Like, and I hate saying that because I have a huge respect for the police force and like the
certainly.
work
It's a
that
tough
they
job.
do. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I'm not denying the fact that it is a horrible job. But unfortunately, and I like to assume that the majority of police are there with the right intentions.
Yes,
Okay.
I like to believe that as well, whether
Right.
it pans out to be true or not.
Right. I choose to believe that if you have that 9 out of 10 are there to do the right thing. But unfortunately, there is that small percentage of people that aren't. That are there to, oh, I found cash, I'll keep it. Oh, I found drugs, I can flip this on the market. Like
Here's a helpless old woman. Let me break her arm.
The proverbial bad apples that spoil the bunch.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the thing is why we're able to trust Batman is because Batman is a character that we can at the same time see both sides of his life. We can hear the secret conversations he has with himself in the Batcave or with his confidant. We can see the thoughts he has in his head. We can understand every aspect of why he's doing what he's doing because we get the legitimate viewer of the reader looking down and seeing every aspect of his life. And that is why we as a people look at Batman as like, he is this, because it's something on display.
It removes all doubt.
Yeah.
You have you, the reader, has no doubt in the intentions and abilities or integrity of Batman. But that's why I feel like Batman plays a lot of times with that theme is like a lot of times when you're like reading, like when they're talking about like how he's referred to in the newspapers, he's viewed as a nuisance. He's a vigilante. He's like viewed with the same level of disgust as that like dude you were talking about in the Phoenix Jones guy. He's like, oh, what the hell? Why are you letting this crazy dude run around and punch people? He punched my nephew. I was like, they're not acknowledging the fact that like that the nephew that he put into a coma was like dealing fucking heroin out of his in the back alley.
I think that perspective is best personified by Harvey Bullock. Do you guys know who Harvey Bullock is?
Yeah, Harvey Bullock is the one, the cop who usually is portrayed as somewhat dirty, but never trusted Batman from jump.
Mm-hmm.
This is the cop's job. This is the cop's job. I don't know why he's out there doing it. Why are we allowing this guy to do it? He is the voice of what we would be.
The skeptic.
If we had to just see him. Yeah, because I'm going to be honest. I love Batman. I think Batman's great. However, if I'm sitting on the street and I see this Caped dude fly down, punch the shit out of a bunch of people,
I'm calling
fly
the
up,
cops.
I am not going to be like, fuck yeah, that's Batman. I'm going to be like, I'm out. This whole city sucks. I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, because
that, sir, was assault.
Yeah, that
I'm
was
walking
not...
through Rockford, all of a sudden some dude in a cape just like decks some rando.
Right. And now, but the reason we love Batman is because like when he's zooming down, he's like, this person, his name, what he did, why he's doing it. So like you see him punch the guy who was like a serial murderer, or like
the guy
ambiguity
is addressed in the comic.
Yeah, it is black and white. He is punching this guy in the face because he just wired up 11 city blocks with explosives because he doesn't like his grandmother or whatever the fuck stupid reason it is.
Yeah.
Or,
the reasons why I bring that particular question up is because I think it would be a really interesting line to run with in a comic book storyline. Like imagine the Penguin runs for office and his entire thing is like, hey, kind of like how Danny DeVito did, where it's all like, we can't trust Batman. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, Batman is this, that, the other thing.
Yeah.
Like, I would love.
Oh, you have a Penguin that runs for office, and his entire campaign is like to get rid of Batman.
Yeah, because like he actually runs off the whole thing of like, hey, Batman is unaccountable. Like, imagine that it's even something that he gets a lot of the other supervillains in on, right? Like he says, "Hey, guys,
Dude,
guys,
clean
we're
your
gonna get
faces. Let's go.
do you
Yeah.
want to get rid of the Batman? Because I have an idea. Just lay low for like 3 months.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple of you let me catch you with the Gotham PD. Don't worry, you'll be out in 3 months. But for the moment, lay low, okay?" And then like he actually campaigns on like, "Hey, Batman is still out there. He's this paranoid crazy guy who keeps beating up random fucking people who are like just doing drugs or whatnot. Wait, that's not fucking cool. Man, those people need medical help. You should be punching them. What the fuck is wrong with you? You know?"
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
how cool would that particular storyline be where, you know, someone actually makes Batman out to legit, you know, even question his
look
own
like a
values,
bad guy.
words.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, not just the whole thing of like, oh, I'm going to turn popular opinion against him, but like, imagine someone actually was able to make Batman reconsider whether or not he should be Batman.
Because if you look at it from an isolated point of view, Batman is one of those like superheroes that you're like a little bit morally gray here. Like,
Yeah.
it's like no killing, but also like I'm going to give you a traumatic brain injury that's going to have you in a wheelchair for the rest of your life.
Yeah. I can break every bone in your body, but don't worry, it won't kill you. Oh, gee, thanks, Batman.
Yeah. But
won't use guns. Proceeds to toss bladed weapons,
right now, so.
bladed boomerangs at his foes.
Would you like to? Should we continue this topic of conversation in 2 weeks, or would you like to move on to some other topic?
I feel like we should. We could. I feel like Batman is something we can revisit, but I feel like we should come back with a. Either we go to a Marvel character or we go to a different.
Well, how do you guys feel about doing the other Batman, Spider-Man?
I would like.
I would do a Spider-Man.
I could do Spider-Man. However, I do like the question of what would it be like? What would the use of Batman without without the existence of the supervillains? I mean, but I could do Spider-Man.
Let's do Spider-Man. We can
okay.
revisit
I think Spider-Man it is.
Spider-Man's probably the best option, if only because he has enough brand recognition, I would say, that most people know what we're talking about, as opposed to someone like Squirrel Girl. You know what I'm saying? Like, no one's gonna fucking like care if we do an episode about, say, for example, the Shadow.
Also,
it
would require me to do some research, which I don't know if I feel like doing.
yeah, we can talk about Spider-Man off the cuff, and it would be not that bad.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Again, a reminder to everybody, next Monday we will be doing a book talk on the Color of Magic by Terry Pratchett. So if you're wanting to view that spoiler-free and everything, then please read the book if you want. No pressure or whatever. And then we'll be back to our normal D&D stream on Wednesday.
Yep, and as always, you can find us on YouTube at Nerds of Legend. You can give us a follow. You can subscribe to our channel. If you like this particular video, please maybe give a comment and tell us what you thought of it. Share us with your friends. We're happy to have anyone here who just enjoys nerdy stuff.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Wednesday is a continuation of our Dungeons & Dragons campaign, for those of you that follow. We hope to see you on Wednesday, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you all for joining.
Thanks, everybody, and good night.